Hey everybody, you're watching We the Fandom, where we discuss comic books, pop culture, and the fandom experience. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more content. How's it going everybody? Jacob here at We the Fandom, and today we're talking about the relaunch of Captain America. So when I heard that they were rebooting Captain America, but making both Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson Captain America, I thought,
Oh shit, here we go again.
But then I started weighing the pros and cons. Pros: 1. Ta-Nehisi Coates isn't writing Captain America. 2. Marvel has been very upfront about their agenda. 3. It might prove that fans don't care about Sam Wilson as Captain America as much as Steve Rogers. And 4. We will get a Steve Rogers story. The cons are there are 2 Captain Americas. Marvel is upfront about their agenda. 3. Marvel isn't likely to make changes even if they can clearly see the comparison in sales. And 4. Both the Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers story will likely turn conservatives into the villains like they've done with Cap for the past 6 or 7 years. Now, in an interview in Entertainment Weekly, the people behind the new run were very upfront about Sam Wilson focusing on identity politics and Steve Rogers questioning what it means to be a patriot, which sounds like more of what we had from the original Sam Wilson Captain America run and the Ta-Nehisi Coates run of Captain America respectively, which isn't good. But the Zero issue, as well as the first issue of their respective series, recently came out, and I read all 3, so here are my thoughts. So the issue 0 of the new relaunch of Captain America was written by Tochi Onyebuchi and Colin Kelly, as well as Jackson Lansing, with art by Mattia De Luis, I think. The story wasn't bad. I liked the art a lot, and Steve Rogers does feel more like Steve Rogers for the most part. It is weird with him being okay that there are 2 Captain Americas. And I say that because in 2009-2010, Steve Rogers was brought back to life in Marvel Comics after being quote-unquote killed at the end of Civil War. And for the next 2 years, he and Bucky, who had taken over as Captain America in the interim, would go back and forth on who should be Captain America, with Steve saying ultimately it should be Bucky and vice versa. Obviously, Steve believing at the time that there should only be one. Meaning the writers are obviously taking liberties with Steve's previously established idea on this topic just so that they can have both. And yeah, I know people are going to say, well, but Steve Rogers chose Sam to take on the shield. Yes, Steve Rogers saw Sam Wilson as the best option because he himself was literally physically incapable of meeting the physical demands of the job. But Steve Rogers has long been back to his old super soldier self at this point. As for the plot itself, Steve and Sam are trying to dismantle a rocket created by Arnim Zola. Half of the dialogue plays on Zola chastising Sam for fighting for a country that never fought for him, which is more or less a commentary on racism. Simultaneously, he's chastising Steve for being too old school for the modern world, an argument that both villains and heroes have used against him in the past. The ending was okay. It was nice reading a story where Steve Rogers actually feels more like Steve Rogers, and this comeback including him trying to dismantle a rocket, which is a callback to his final adventure in World War II, which just feels right. The ending definitely felt like the first Spider-Man comic, which for those who haven't read it, was Brian Michael Bendis, the creator of Miles Morales, the Black Spider-Man, writing a story that had Peter Parker from Earth 616 give his seal of approval to Miles. Basically, Bendis' way of owning the toxic trolls who didn't like Miles, even though that's practically the equivalent of referencing a 5-star review for your restaurant that you yourself wrote to get back at people who hate your food. Now, the writers of this comic didn't create Steve Rogers or Sam Wilson, but it still has that same feel to it. Sam and Steve constantly congratulating each other on being a great Captain America is just goofy. Also, Sam's shield is ugly as hell. It seems like maybe they did it to be a homage to Cap's original shield design, but I'm not sure. And I get that there are only slight differences between his shield and Steve's, but those slight alterations make all the difference. Also, I'm not even sure where he got this shield, if it's also indestructible or why there are even 2 Captain Americas. I didn't read the United States of Captain America stories, so maybe it happened at the end of that comic. As for Captain America Sentinel of Liberty, which is Steve Rogers' story, it was written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly and drawn by Carmen Carnero. In the story, we have Cap returning to his roots in more ways than one. He moves into the apartment he lived in as a kid, and it seems like he's going back to more ground level threats rather than being, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and having that whole operation backing him up. And he's also facing enemies that have ties to his past, even if it's not revealed who exactly those enemies are, or rather the larger group behind them. So far, my only worry is that by rehashing this kind of story where Hydra or somebody like them is secretly trying to take over America, that it means Marvel is just phoning in the Steve Rogers Captain America comic while emphasizing the focus on Sam Wilson. In terms of the plot, like I mentioned, it begins with Steve Rogers trying to return to his roots, getting into a dingy apartment. He goes to community college to take art classes, which they haven't really maybe focused or really referenced much of Steve Rogers' past as an artist, I think since maybe the 80s or 90s. So that's kind of interesting. He's got a ham radio chat group with these old soldiers from the Second World War and the Korean War, I believe, which inadvertently leads him to learn of a plot generated by an unknown group. He ends up facing a guy taking on the mantle of the Destroyer, a mantle used by a World War II superhero, and he seems to be under the control of some mysterious group. We also learn that Bucky has some ulterior motives to helping Steve Rogers with this case. He goes back to his apartment and crosses names off of a mysterious list. And then at the end of the issue, Steve Rogers realizes that he doesn't only have to fight this hidden enemy, but also find out the quote-unquote true meaning behind the shield. Hopefully Steve finding out the true meaning behind the shield isn't some commentary on how America is inherently racist and has always been, by saying Steve Rogers is a symbol and was always a symbol of hate or racism. We've already been through that with Secret Empire. I don't think anybody wants to see that again, especially folks who are actual Captain America fans and don't want to see their favorite character be torn down or turned into a mouthpiece for modern political activists. I did like the part where he mentioned that anybody can be Captain America and the shield is more for everyone. I'm sure that that's the writer's way of saying that fans should get over the fact that Sam Wilson is Cap because it's a mantle, so anyone should be able to be Cap. But I look at it more as Cap saying that he embodies certain values, and he means to inspire others that can be him, not literally taking up the shield and becoming Captain America, but someone who can fight for liberty. Another negative to the comic, though, is that they still have Steve saying that he needs to wake up from the quote-unquote dream, that being the American dream, which really goes against the core of what Captain America stands for. This change is due to modern writers and their big-brained idea that the American dream has always been a lie. They think it only means wealth and opportunity for white people, and while they haven't had Cap say exactly that, they've gotten pretty close. Cap in a number of comics has outlined his view on the American dream, a view that can stand up to scrutiny, hasn't wavered, and no social justice warrior writing Captain America is going to change that. Moving on to the Sam Wilson story, Symbol of Truth, this was written by Tochi Onyebuchi and drawn by R.B. Silva. Much like with Steve, Sam is also returning to his roots. Of course, with him only becoming Captain America in 2014, which was, that was 8 years ago. Jeez, time flies when stories are mediocre. But yeah, Sam is returning to basically helping illegal immigrants against a less obvious allegory for white supremacists, unlike his original run. And I only say that because the enemy is still unclear, other than the fact that T'Challa's adopted brother is somehow involved, seemingly wanting to overthrow Wakanda and America, possibly even more. Now, I haven't read a Black Panther comic that's come out later than 2012, so I have no idea what's happening in that part of the Marvel Universe or why T'Challa's adopted brother, aka the White Wolf, is evil. In terms of the plot, Sam is tasked by Misty Knight to go to Arizona and find super soldier serum that's being smuggled across the border. He has Falcon, aka Joaquin Torres, with him, and they end up fighting a terrorist group of some sort. 90% of the story is kind of just this one action scene with them fighting over a train that plays somewhat similar to the opening scene of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I'm guessing they're really trying to reflect, given that Sam Wilson is going to be the Captain America going forward in the MCU. In the end, they find out that the super soldier serum was actually a small group of illegal immigrants. And the ending has T'Challa's adopted brother, again, the White Wolf, breaking Brock Rumlow, aka Crossbones, out of prison in order to help him in a plot to topple Wakanda and America. Overall, I don't have as many complaints about this comic as I thought I would. There are definitely some cringy stuff here and there, like Sam and Misty Knight are arguing over the quality of a fried chicken restaurant, because, all black people love fried chicken, right? There was also this Wakanda Forever rally where this guy asked the people in the crowd to raise their hands and then lower them if they've experienced certain circumstances in life. Basically one of those things that's meant to expose your level of privilege. It almost seems like Sam looks down on this group, mostly over the fact that they think paradise is in some pure ancestral country in Africa like Wakanda, instead of the evil racist America. But he also says that a group like that wouldn't exist if he was doing a better job. So I'm not sure what the audience is supposed to take away from that. Maybe the writer is kind of sitting on the fence, or more than likely we'll hear more about that group later in other comics. I liked the amount of action in the story, but it's obvious they are going with a social justice driven plot like they did recently, so I don't think the story will hold my attention much going forward, but that was expected. Overall, I am cautiously optimistic for the Steve Rogers story. If it continues to be good, I might actually go out and buy it. The Sam Wilson story, I'm just not as interested in, but I might keep an eye on anyways. Tell me what you guys think about the future of Captain America in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Also, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. I'll see you all next time. Bye.